I have a good mind, but I'm way short of prodigy. And I've had results in life that are prodigious. And that came from tricks. I just learned a few basic tricks from people like my grandfather.
What were those tricks?
What kind of? Now everybody's leaning in, wanting to know.
It's too late for you old guys. Anyway, but no, there are all kinds of tricks that I just got into by accident in life. One, I invert all the time. And I was a weather forecaster when I was in the Air Corps. And how did I handle my new assignment? Being a weather forecaster in the Air Corps is a lot like being a doctor that reads x-rays. It's a pretty solitary. Yeah. You're in the hangar in the middle of the night and drawing weather maps and you're clearing pilots, but you're not interfacing with a bunch of your fellow men very much. And so I figured out the minute I was actually making weather forecasts for real pilots, I said, how can I kill these pilots? Now, that's not the question that most people would ask, but I want to know what the easiest way to kill them would be so I could avoid it. And so I thought it through in reverse that way, and I finally figured out, I said, there are only two ways I'm going to kill a pilot. So I'm going to get him to icing his plane can't handle, and that will kill him. Or I'm going to get him someplace where he's going to run out of gas before he can land. And I just was fanatic about avoiding those two hazards.
What I'm hearing you say is that you, as a discipline, look at what the risk is on the other side of the situation and you avoid that. That's one of the rules, right?
Well, it's like a lot of practical problems in algebra. If you invert, you can solve it easily. If you don't, you can't solve it easily.
Exactly right.
And so, of course, I had that trick very early. And most people, they say, how can you please tell us what you do to save India or to help India? And of course, I would approach it differently. I'd say, what could I do which would most easily hurt India? And approaching it in reverse that way, I got better results.
You look at the vulnerabilities.
Yes, and I have a whole bag of tricks like that. I went to the ROTC, both in high school and college. And the ROTC taught me to fire mortar shells or artillery shells, one shot over, one shot short, and then kapow. Well, I never shot any damn shells, but I've been using that mental trick all my life. That's how I determine what size to make something. Over and under and kapow. And so I just got a bag of tricks. And I got the right bag of tricks early. And of course, it's been of enormous help to me. Let me give you an example. I had a client once when I was a young lawyer, and he owned a bunch of hilly ranch land on the edge of civilization, not very far from here in Southern California. And the Edison Company came through, and they wanted a new easement through his land. They already had some easements. And he hired the leading appraiser in Orange County, real estate appraiser, and said, and he had the idea that he should have $250,000 for this easement from the Edison Company. And this leading appraiser, who was very pompous and very old and very distinguished, and he told him, no, I'm sorry, it's only $125,000 value in your damn ranch. And so he came to me and said, Charlie, can you talk some sense into this elderly appraiser? And so I looked at his problem and I told the appraiser what I thought how he was doing his own appraisal wrong. I'm not a real estate appraiser, he is. And what he had done is what he was taught to do in appraisal school. He thought the problem through in two dimensions, and he figured out from comparable sales what the value per acre was, and then he computed the acreage, and he had something a little bit on the damage the easement would do to the remaining property. And so, but it was all done in two dimensions. And I said to this appraiser, you've got to do this in three dimensions. God gave us three dimensions. And I said, if they put the utility towers, big transmission line towers, which is why it's going to freeze the grade. And the logical way to develop your land is to lop off the top of the hills and put them in the valley. That's the way hilly land is developed. And they're doing enormous damage to you by freezing the grade. And he said, he wouldn't change a damn thing. So I said to my elderly client, I think you have to fire this twit. And I will hire you an appraiser who can think. And so I got him $600,000, which wasn't at all hard because I was dealing with a bunch of honest engineers at the Edison who did think in 3 dimensions. But again, that's so simple, but you'd be surprised how many lawyers would screw that one up. And of course, the people like that appraiser, who didn't know his own business very well because he didn't pay attention to the fundamentals, those people are always with us. And if you just have the mental trick of constantly going back to the basics, it's pretty basic insight that
Are you conscious?
the geometrical problem in a real world is 3-dimensional.
Are you conscious of the rules, or they're just there?
Well, it's so habitual with me.
Yeah, I understand.
And I revolve possibilities, and I rag problems hard. And if they don't yield, I come back. And so this is just a bag of tricks, and it enables a non-prodigious man to get prodigious results.
Remember, last summer you bought Anadarko, the big oil company.
Yes.
And you described, I think you'd just gotten back from being with Warren for the weekend.
Yeah.
And you were describing that you didn't do all the analytics and you didn't do all of the research, but you used your bag of tricks. And you flew out to Omaha, you and Warren spent the weekend. You called up the president of the Bank of America, got the money, made the deal.
No, I didn't go to Omaha.
Or where did you go?
No, I stayed. We have a telephone.
Okay. Okay. You talked. Okay, you talked to Warren about it.
Anyway, Warren didn't need. Warren and I have been together so long that just one grunt we can speak a volume. and no, it's perfectly obvious the Permian Basin is our number 1 oil reservoir, and we don't have another like it. And so we've done this kind of thing before too. So of course we did it, and it's not very difficult. But you're right. There are all kinds of organizations, endless due diligence, and we knew enough to act.
Based on the rules.
And by they were in a hurry,
Yeah.
yes, but you don't need perfect. If you're 96% sure, that's all you're entitled to in many cases. And I see these people doing this due diligence, and the weaker they are as thinkers, the more due diligence they do. And of course, it's just a way of allaying an inner insecurity. And of course, it doesn't work. You've got to be able to quickly understand that. How much brains does it take to know the Permian Basin is America's best oil? You know, there is nothing like comparable. At least it's a no-brainer if you don't make it hard.